Welcome, Dolphins fans, haters, and everyone in between to your favorite show discussing the greatest franchise in sports, the Miami Dolphins. This is the PhinsPod. My name is Moose, your host, and today we're going to take a deep look into the upcoming matchup against the Denver Broncos. What should you expect from Drew Lock if he even plays? Could be Brett Rippon, and how the Dolphins match up with another team led by a defensive-minded head coach. Remember, Vic Fangio, their head coach, was hired the same year that the Dolphins went with Brian Flores, and at that time, Vic Fangio was a more highly touted potential candidate in that head coaching vacancy spot. So we'll discuss all that, and as always, we'll take a quick look at the latest stories published over at PhinsPod.com. Let's dive in.
I have a hard time getting lined up.
Herbert on the move. Couldn't quite shake the pass rush. Herbert intercepted. Picked off at the 40, coming back up the sidelines and out of bounds.
So the now 6-3 Dolphins are heading to Mile High Stadium to take on the 3-6 Denver Broncos. The Broncos had some high expectations coming into this season behind their second-year quarterback Drew Lock, and unfortunately things just have not panned out as expected due to a multitude of factors. There's always injuries, affects all teams. Von Miller was reportedly out for the season. Now there's talk that he's going to try to return. Don't know why. I think he should just nurse it and come back next year strong. No point really, but hey, he's a competitor, so he might come back, but he's been out the entire season. And then Drew Lock missed some time as well with the rotator cuff injury, and the way he's been playing, who knows if that's been bothering him. I don't even say that jokingly. I mean, he's really turned the ball over a lot. Overall, though, the Broncos have just underperformed, and as they do have talent on both sides of the ball, and when you kind of compare that talent and sort of the pedigree of some of their players, like the aforementioned Von Miller, you would have expected a better performance than 3-6, especially considering that Drew Lock entered the season with so much hype, justifiably. They finished the year strong with him, going 4-1. So people really had a lot of expectations, and that starts in the run game as well. On their offense, they have a lot of weapons. Philip Lindsay, personally, I believe is their best runner, even though Melvin Gordon tends to get the majority of the snaps. Philip Lindsay's averaging 5.5 yards per carry. And look, Miami may struggle to bottle up a guy like him. Miami has difficulty containing these, athletic scat back types. Much easier to defend against that power back who kind of grinds for 3-4 yards at a time, as Miami kind of sets up their opponents in third and long. That's really how Miami likes to attack teams. The problem is when you got a guy who's able to make the first guy miss, Miami isn't getting enough penetration, or at least isn't doing a good enough job of closing their gaps, as they've been pretty mediocre compared to the rest of their defense at stopping the run, mainly the pass defense and the pass rush. So hopefully we don't see Philip Lindsay cut the Dolphins defense too much. And for how small he is, he's very decisive. He hits the hole extremely hard, and he runs with a lot of power. He's got low center of gravity, and for how small he is, he does run with a lot of power. The leading rusher for the team, as we mentioned before, is Melvin Gordon. And when he's not caught driving drunk, it was right there. I had to do it. When he's not caught driving drunk, he averages just over 4 yards a carry. So expect a healthy dose of both. So, Miami should focus entirely on shutting down the run in this matchup. I mean, I think that's pretty clear. Put the game in the hands of whoever's playing quarterback for the team. The way those two backs operate, Melvin Gordon is more that power back, someone that I think Miami would have a better chance of bottling up. However, the problem is if it's a close game and Philip Lindsay's been roasting them all game long, and it's maybe the Broncos have a lead or Miami doesn't come out swinging, then at the end of the game a back like Melvin Gordon could really hurt the Dolphins, as he's a powerful guy, hard to bring down, he's fast and big, so he's definitely not the fact that they have both types of running backs doesn't bode well. The problem is the running game as a whole needs to be eliminated. That's what the Dolphins need to focus on. Now, in terms of the passing game for the Broncos, there's Drew Lock. And look, personally, I love him. I know, people really are hating on him this year, understandably, not having a great year. But personally, coming out of Missouri last season, I felt like he was a more developed Josh Allen. Always going to get Josh Allen hate on the show. Anytime you come to the PhinsPod, you'll listen to some Josh Allen hate. But look, he seemed to be more of a finished product. His ceiling as a passer is astronomical. He has a cannon of an arm, and he's got moxie. He's got moxie at the position. He's got a lot of swagger, and I don't say that lightly. I hate when people say like Baker Mayfield, stuff like that. That's a little bit put on. Drew Lock, it's just the way he plays. He thinks he can put the ball anywhere at any time, and with that arm he has, he really can. He just needs to make better decisions of when he's going to make those attempts. But in reality, he can sling it all over the field. And like we mentioned before, over the last 5 games of last season when he came in, the Broncos went 4-1, and yes, their defense was playing better, the team was playing better, but they weren't asking him to do a lot. They were kind of managing him, and this year it feels like they kind of just, put it all on him and asked him to take them to the next level without really taking the next step as an offense together. So Miami did want to draft him as well. It's not just me who liked him, the Dolphins allegedly, but they wanted to draft him. But Elway jumped Greer in the second round. I believe the Dolphins were 1 pick up or 2 picks next. And the fact that they jumped up, there's a reason. They wanted to grab him. There was a team they were worried about. And at that point in time, it made sense. The Dolphins didn't have a quarterback. And pre-draft, chatter was favorable between the Dolphins and Drew Lock. But maybe that it worked out so far so good. Lock hasn't appeared to have taken that next step. Completing 55% of his passes, averaging about 220 yards a game. That 55% completion percentage isn't good. That's not good. At the way the NFL is playing right now, you definitely want over 60% minimally. You need accuracy in this game, and I think a lot of those, incompletions for Drew Lock, it's not like he's missing guys. It's really they just take a lot of shots. He's thrown 7 touchdowns and 10 interceptions in the 7 games he played, 4 of which were last week. So those numbers are kind of skewed. And then the other quarterback we could see, and it's kind of looking like we might see, is Brett Rippon. Brett Rippon, he's played a game against the Jets, and everyone's beaten the Jets, so he looked all right. He did have 3 interceptions in that game. The thing with Brett Rippon, though, I don't feel as if he's, people think that they have just as good of a chance. I don't. I feel like Brett Rippon, you can attack. You just put the zero blitz on him, you give him different looks, and kind of like a rookie, except unlike Justin Herbert, who's also inexperienced, like Brett Rippon, although Brett Rippon's, played, about maybe 8 to 10 games in his career, if even that. Justin Herbert at that point has played more, but yet Brett Rippon does not have the physical tools that Justin Herbert does. So I think you can absolutely, or the weapons around him. So I really do think that the Dolphins can go at him hard, and they shouldn't let up too many points if that's the case. But look, Drew Lock, even if he played, he's prone to take chances with the ball too. That's sort of the difference. Brett Rippon's going to run the offense, so if the Dolphins don't come out, ready to play and are missing tackles and the game plan, they not focused on a good game plan, then there's a chance that the Broncos under Brett Rippon can operate at a smoother level than they have been recently with Drew Lock. And look, Miami's defense has proven to be opportunistic. So, they have 15 games in a row with the turnover, and this may be as good a game as any to nab another interception, maybe some fumbles. I really do think the Dolphins should jump out on top of a team like the Broncos, who at this point in the season, kind of looking towards the offseason, it's 3-6, COVID's going on. There's so much, effort to try to keep it going. So compared to some other seasons, maybe players are more prone to fall off. And Vic Fangio, seems to be on the hot seat as well. In terms of their receiving core, look, Miami's going to have to match up with their rookie wide receiver and former Tua safety blanket, Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy is an amazing route runner. I think he's going to be an elite player in the league. He's already shown some traits and moments. He's a rookie, though. I'm pretty sure Xavier Howard and Byron Jones will be able to cover that in this game. The Broncos do have some other skill players worth noting. They have Noah Fant, who's a former, I believe, first-round pick for the Broncos. I don't understand why you take a tight end in the first round. Even this Kyle Pitts guy, and we'll get into draft talk later, closer to the offseason. But I'm not a huge fan of drafting a tight end in the first round. I just don't think they tend to pan out. And look, they also have Tim Patrick, but the Phins have the 6th best pass defense overall. Like we had talked about before, we have the secondary to shut that down. And like we talked about, expect more zero blitz looks this week compared to last week, as Drew Lock's more, he's not incredibly mobile. Brett Rippon less so, and both of them tend to struggle with guys in their face. So look, the Dolphins are going to need to stop the run to establish that sort of, presence in the backfield when they're trying to pass the ball, when the Broncos are trying to pass the ball. But if they're not able to stop the run, then Brett Rippon or Drew Lock, neither of them are going to even have to lean on it, and they can kind of just lean on Phillip Lindsay and Melvin Gordon to sort of take a victory away and steal one from the Dolphins. So it's really important the Dolphins go in there to Denver and make sure they shut down the running game. in terms of the Miami Dolphins offense against the Denver Broncos defense, look, the strength, if we even want to call it that, so far this year for the Broncos is their defense. Vic Fangio was hired for that exact reason. And look, although they lost big to the Raiders last week, Derek Carr was not really a big factor in the game. He only had 155, 156 passing yards. And look, the Broncos have the 12th best pass defense. So above average, and that was because Josh Jacobs could run all over them, so they didn't really need to defend the pass much. But they are in the bottom third in the NFL in run defense. So this may be a good week for Miami to really try to establish themselves on the ground. Like we said, the Broncos do have some playmakers. They have AJ Bouye on the outside. They do have some corners, and especially how Miami's banged up at the receiving core. Look for this to be another sort of not boring game plan, but efficient offensive football. Run the ball, establish it, get ahead of the sticks, and then work the middle of the field, try to get the first downs, on third and short. So Matt Breida should be back this week. I think he's going to be a factor. He'll most likely split reps with Savon Ahmed, who's continued to show development. Miami doesn't have a bruiser anymore, who like Josh Jacobs, who can kind of pound that defense. So it will be interesting to see how Denver manages with scat backs. We know they can't handle the power rushing game like last week, but the Dolphins don't really have that established in any way. So Miami tends to use a lot of counters and a lot of sort of zone reads, in the running game. So maybe Denver will be able to handle that well. They have some athletic linebackers. But with all that said, talking about that run game and what I think the Dolphins should do to win, I'm going to make a prediction here. I think this is going to be Tua's best game yet. I think the Dolphins have managed him very well. He has not turned the ball over in terms of interceptions, and they're not taking too many deep shots. And I think this week that's going to change. I have a feeling that the Dolphins may not be able to establish the run. I think that the Broncos know that that's where they can get Miami. And look, Vic Fangio is going to scheme it up. We're not that powerful in the offensive line running game department. And again, Savon Ahmed is good, and so is Matt Breida. But I think it'll be hard for them to run between the tackles. So we'll see. I just think that this game is going to fall on Tua Tagovailoa. And I think Chan Gailey's going to have to open the playbook up even more in that high altitude where the ball can travel a bit further in the air. And nothing to really base this off of. I don't really have any stats or any indications that there's a reason this should happen. It makes sense that Miami should attack their weakness. But if the game plan is once again conservative, I'll take it back. I'll tell you, I'll tell you, Tua is really being brought along slowly. But everything he's shown thus far, I really think the game's coming where he's going to crack 250 yards or more. Maybe a 3-touchdown game too. I don't want to get too carried away with, he's not going to throw for 400 yards, 4 touchdowns. But like we said on the PhinsPod before, there's a reason, people say any given Sunday. So the Broncos could equally come out and play and absolutely spank the Dolphins. So who really knows how things are going to go? But what I do feel is at this point, I think Tua is comfortable, and I think the Broncos are kind of reeling right now. And I think they're prone to sort of get your passing attack going. I think the Dolphins have really been opening things up slowly with Tua, and I think we're just bound to see a point where he's able to hit some of these passes that are real close, these deep bombs, the ones we've seen to Gesicki, Jakeem Grant, Preston Williams that he's missed when he was in a few weeks back. I really feel like at some point it's going to click, and the way Denver's been playing and their defense sort of given up when the offense makes mistakes, I think this is a good week for Tua to really take over. So my final prediction, I think the Dolphins are going to win this one, 33-17. I do, look, the Broncos aren't a bad team, so it could be close early, and it might be close all the way to the end. But if the Dolphins fall here, that's not concerning. I think that they're still in a good spot for the season as a whole, but it definitely would be disappointing. It's a classic trap game. We've sort of seen the Dolphins tend to be the Broncos in this situation, where there's another AFC team, back a decade or so ago, the Chiefs would be there, even the Broncos were a team like that, and the Dolphin season kind of over, 3-7, 2-9, 4-7. And we're trying to play spoiler. So I think that's sort of what this game is going to be. And if the Dolphins are what we think they are, RIP, great coach, quote, love that. If the Dolphins are who we think they are, then they should come out with the victory. So let us know what you think as well on Instagram and social media. Let us know in the comments below if you're listening on YouTube what you think the score is going to be. And if you're watching this after the fact and I'm completely wrong, then feel free to mock me. I definitely deserve it.
We got the Dolphins at number 5.
I know.
Bills at number 8.
It's
and
weird
that defies
to
yeah. PointsBet has the Bills at minus 334 to win the division. That means you got to bet 334 to win 100. Dolphins at plus 300, bet 100, win 300. So the clear favorite continues to be Buffalo. But I feel like right now Miami's the best team in the division.
They're more complete of a football team. You know, Buffalo is more, it's like we talked about with Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers or Mahomes. It's a little bit more predicated on one guy. They attack through the passing game and the offense. That's what they do. That is the greatest thing they have, and they really don't have another great thing on their football team. You know, so I hear you with the Miami thing. Miami, the defense is special. It's a special defense. The scheme, the personnel, he's got everything down there, Brian Flores. And we're seeing they don't need to necessarily throw for 300 yards to win games. They're managing the game. They're running the ball, Tua bootlegs, making a few plays here and there. That's all they need to do. And man, you look at their schedule and you just sit here and just go, I have a hard time thinking they're not going to be sitting here at 9-3 playing the Chiefs in 4 weeks. So I get it. I want to see more from Tua because we've yet to really see him have to, oh, wait, you know, the defense and special teams aren't dominating and bootlegs aren't there. Now you have to play and win a game in the pocket and do that. We've yet to see that. I've seen some good inklings and things like that, but just yet to see it. That's the last piece I'd like to see before I start to go, man, Dolphins are for real. Watch out for them.
NFL coaches like to break their schedules up into quarters. That last quarter of the Dolphins' schedule,
that's tough.
Chiefs, Patriots, at Raiders, at Bills, but they could be 9-3, Chris, as you say, entering that stretch, and it could be 9-7, it could be 13-3, or it could be something in between.
All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. That's going to do it for us here today. I hope you enjoy the matchup this weekend as the Phins try to get their 6th win in a row. It'll be really interesting to compare the two quarterbacks' playing styles. I really hope to see Drew Lock. I do think it would be a better game. I feel confident Miami will win either way, so that's why I would like to see Drew Lock and sort of see what that arm can do compared to Brett Rippon, where it's going to be a little bit more kill him with little paper cuts, you know, dinking and dunking your way down the field. But yeah, thank you again for tuning into this episode of the PhinsPod. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and remember to subscribe to the show wherever it is you listen. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please follow the show. Give it a review. Let us know what you think. It really helps the show out and helps other people find it. Other Dolphins fans join the pod. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe, just so you don't miss future chances to chat about your favorite team, our favorite team, the Miami Dolphins. And again, just lastly, the show's available Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, everywhere you can find. So continue the conversation with us on Twitter and Instagram as well at PhinsPod, and always check out that site for daily news and content, PhinsPod.com. Hope you have an awesome day, and until next time, stay safe. Love y'all.